Alright, it's late October 2017, working on the third gen. This is the control arm project. Already gotten one out and replaced, so I have some familiarity with what I'm doing, I hope. What we're going to do is see how quickly we can get this control arm out. So let's get started. Alright, those were 3/4 inch lug nuts. Now what I think I'm going to do to get me most maneuverability on this brake rotor and steering knuckle, I'm going to go ahead and cut this tie rod loose. There's one nut here and a cotter pin. Cotter pin out. And then that nut, I believe, look at my notes here. Yeah, I think it's 15 millimeter. Let's see. No, it's going to be bigger than that. Is it 3/4? Yeah, it's 3/4. Same size as the lug nut. Never mind. Use the short wobble extension on the gun just to make this a little easier on me. Okay. And with a little luck, this tie rod will just drop loose. No, looks like we're going to have to beat it loose. It's been said you can wrap on the outside of it and it'll just fall loose. I haven't had no luck with that. So we're going to go pickle fork. Pickle fork chews up the dust boot, but we're not reusing this dust boot, so it doesn't matter. 4-pound hammer. There you go, just like that. No monkey business. Alright, and that gives me freedom to move this. That's the reason why I did that then. There's no magical order for taking this thing apart. Alright, what we're going to have to do now is free up the brake caliper. There's a couple of Allen bolts that hold that on. That's going to be a 3/8 inch Allen bolt. This is just a socket. Getting the impact behind there has been a little weird, so I'm going to try it with just a regular ratchet. See if I can bust it loose that way. As I recall, the other side I was able to do that. Maybe not. Okay, well, we can do that. Let's so hopefully we don't break the Allen thing, Allen socket. This is just a chrome socket from Advanced Auto, so it's not really made to take a lot of abuse. So we're not going to give it full trigger on the gun. And let's see, that socket's not going to work right. Always something, right? Let's try this. Still not quite letting me get the gun in there. We can probably get this bottom one anyway. Let's go ahead and do that one. Okay, that came loose nicely. Stop. Let's put a wobble. Put a wobble on this, see if we can get it on the top one, so we don't have to monkey around with too much stuff. And let's see here, like that one. Yeah, I guess I like it well enough. Let's try this. Okay. There it goes. All right. Let go. Oh. It wanted to bring the bolt with it. There we go. And there's the bottom bolt. And what's going to happen now is this whole caliper assembly is going to come off, you see. And I need to tie that up. I think I've got a piece of string over here. There it is. Reason why you have to tie it up is because you don't want this caliper, while you're working on this, just be hanging on the brake line. This is an old brake line. It's already fragile enough. So I'm not trying to replace brake lines as part of this job today. That's for another time. There's a bracket up in here that the rigid line that comes from the master cylinder mounts into, and then goes into the flex line. I tie this thing into the bracket. And let's see. Go over the top like that. And with this string, what I've got is just a plastic cord lock, like you get on a backpack or something. Makes it a little easier to adjust as I go, because you're going to want this piece of cord to have varying degrees of slack. Let's see if I can feed this thing through there without a whole lot of hassle. There it goes. All right, that's good. I like that. Now, get my gloves back on to keep my dick beaters clean, or at least not bleeding. All right, off with this. Oh, by the way, when this comes off, these pads aren't held in by anything, so they're going to want to drop. So, you know, if you don't want your pads smashed up from hitting the concrete, catch them as you're taking it off. The back pad has a clip that rides inside the piston, and that thing likes to go flying when you pull this off. I've got a thread on thirdgen.org that shows the way that clip's supposed to stay oriented, but just wanted to alert you that it's a clip you got to keep up with when you take this off. Alright, that off. The back one wants to come loose. Now see that clip? It's trying to go to parts unknown, but I'm not going to let it. Alright. Here's what I'm talking about. This clip on the back here. Doesn't take much jiggling and it goes flying. It'll find the nearest crack and then you'll be wondering what to do. So don't lose that. This outer pad, that baby's in there. This side's a little more rusty than the other side was. Tell you what, I'm not going to worry about that pad a whole lot right at this very moment. Whoops. See, I did something wrong here as far as my looping procedure. I have to fix that, so bear with me again here. Of loop-de-loop. Stay. There we go. Now. Alright, that's better. Slack out of this thing. There we go. Now it's hanging on that piece of paracord. It's not hanging on the brake line. Okay, time to get pretty serious here. See, what we've got now is our strut, steering knuckle, brake rotor. All right, what we want to do is separate this whole assembly of the brake rotor and the knuckle from the strut. There's no need to take the brake rotor off the spindle right now. That's not really part of this job. There's a couple of big ass bolts here. 15/16 on each side. These things get torqued to 190 foot-pounds. And these have probably been on here since 1988, which is how old this car is. By the way, I traded a $300 rifle for this car right after Obama got re-elected the second time. Well, got a pretty good deal. I've spent a fortune on it since then, so it's been no bargain, but anyway, it's a funny story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a wrench on the nut. I'm going to get the impact on the bolt head, and that's the thing that without an impact, I don't know how you do it. I probably couldn't do it. All right, it's just too tight. So let's get. We got 15/16 socket. And you're going to need a little bit of extension on that. Probably going to run the wobble. So I'm going to go with this wobble extension. The wobble extension just gives you some flop in the socket, so you don't have to come straight in on it. Because when you're working on this stuff, you never get a straight in angle on anything. So you just got to live with the wobble. Fits in there. Yeah, that looks like that's going to fit. All right, and now get my antique wrench out. No idea how old this thing is. It's at least since 1977 because that's when I bought it. I bought it from a young man who was moving. He was older than me at the time. I'm an old dude now. Anyhow, enough war stories. Let's get. Hear a bunch of yelling in the background. There's a group of tree trimmers. No, well, they're not trimmers, they're cutters. They're cutting down an 80-foot tall tree right behind the camera there.
Looks like you found it.
All right, let's see. You know what? I think before I do this, there's one screw that screws this steel mounting plate into the strut. And that'll get this brake line more out of the way. So let's take that off first. I think that's 13 millimeter. Let's see. That actually feels a little loose. Let's see. Brake line to strut. Let's try a 1/2 inch. 13. back for right now. There we go. Got out of the way. Looks like we got more tree cutters that have come over on this side. Today's the day for cutting trees. More noise. Alright. 1/2-inch socket on this brake line support. Yeah, that's much better. Okay. Well, the bolt's kind of stuck in the socket. Well, there it is. Now, maybe you can see the brake line's more loose. I got more room to work in there. Don't worry about beating that screw out of there later. All right, better access now to these bolts that hold the strut to the steering knuckle. Get the 15/16 back on there. All right. Maximum ugga-duggas here. This thing is tight. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's on the lefty-loosey setting. Tell you what, let's get rid of the wobble and see if we can go with a straight extension. Maybe get less vibration in this. I didn't like the way that felt. The brake line out of the way, there's less need for that wobble. This gun's supposed to give 1,400 foot-pounds of torque for loosening, so let's put it to the test. Oh, there she goes. It's spinning. Nope. How about that? Magic. All right, big old nut, big old bolt. Right, now I'm going to leave this bolt in here for right now because there's some finessing that has to be done when the strut comes out, and having some support down here is actually beneficial. But get that out of the way. Let's get the bottom bolt. Let's see here. Oops. Helps use it right into the wrench. Okay, I like that. Get it down there like so. Now here's where that caliper gets annoying. It wants to really get in the way of the wrench. There. I think that'll work. Come on. There she goes. Nice. If this job beats you, it's going to be these bolts. That one feels kind of bound up in there. I'm just going to leave it bound up. Get the nut off and washer. I've got new bolts and nuts for this. They say these bolts are torque to yield. My God, I don't bolt this big. I don't know how you get so tight you can yield. But I bought new bolts. They weren't expensive. So nothing is holding this rotor spindle assembly in place other than those 2 bolts I just loosened, and 1 nut here on the ball joint. What I think is best to do at this point is free the strut from up top. I don't know if you can hear me over the chainsaws back there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up here. I'm going to reach into the engine bay here. There's 3 bolts that hold the strut tower in place and 1 nut on top of the strut. So you're going to get to look at my legs while I do this, because I'm going to keep the camera pointed at this angle because we're coming back to here real quickly, I hope, as I get the top bolts loose. So stand by while I do that. If you're interested, this nut that goes on top of the strut is 13/16, and with this wrench on it, I think it's already loose. It seems to be loose before I even started this job. And then there's a little 10mm that holds the shaft of the strut, so the strut doesn't spin while you're working the wrench. Yep, it's loose. So just got to do several cycles of this to get it completely undone. Gets to a point where when you're putting this big wrench on the nut, the shaft of the strut, once it starts spinning, it becomes a 2-handed job. Hear a great big crash in the background any second now, because when they get that thing cut loose, it's going to come down all Bunyan style. Wait for it. No, not yet. Whoa! That baby came loose hard. That was on me, because what I should have done, my bad, I should have put the jack under there before I did that. So, lesson learned. You can really get in trouble with that. Oops. Looks like it dented the bearing cap there, so I have to replace that. Now, there's the old spring. With it in that flop down position like that, I may just go ahead and try to knock that thing out now, so it's not there as a menace. Alright, well let's do that. Well, actually, let's get the strut out of the way first. Do this, bolt out. Alright. Strut just comes off like so. Sure, I'm glad my foot wasn't under that when it came down. Okay. While I was fucking up there, this is the nut that goes on top of the strut. Boy. Alright, I've got a piece of pipe I can put behind here. I kind of hate to put an impact on this thing, get that thing shaking, and then have that thing shoot out at me. Just going to tie that up so when it does come out, it don't kill me. Already cheated death once today. I'm not going to test my luck on that. So I think what I'll do, put this ratchet strap. Alright, got the ratchet strap around the spring. Hopefully that contains it. I didn't expect bonus excitement with that spring shooting around. This is the part that I was counting on right here. There it is. Voila. Alright. There she is. Spring's just around the corner. I'll also point out there's this rubber piece that sits on top of the spring like so. Take yours apart, keep up with that piece if you want to reuse it. I haven't found a source for new ones. Some guys say they just put fuel hose across the top of the spring to give some cushion between the spring and the spring pocket. But anyhow, we haven't broken any bones or killed ourselves yet. So the hard part is over. It's just fun from here. Alright, now what we want to do is run the impact on this knuckle. Maybe put it in the barn direct that the cows already got out. I'm going to put this plastic under here to protect the rotor. Dumbass, let that thing fly. Alright. Grab this cotter pin out of here. Man, this thing is filthy. It's got almost got dead animals stuck in this thing. It's been on here so long. All right, here's a cotter pin. And that nut is so filthy, I'm going to have to clean it off a little bit. Might as well do cleaning while that chainsaw's making all the noise, right? Alright, I think that's probably clean enough. Oh, you know, while I was pondering my mortality there, what I wanted to do was show you this strut that nearly took me out. See this? Or it just stays down? That's how you know it's no good. These things are supposed to be gas charged. When you compress it, you'll push it down and it should just pop back up like that, but it didn't. See, I can feel a lot of slack. If it's up here, pushing down, I don't feel any resistance at all. Almost none. I mean, it's just pretty. There's some resistance on the way up, a little bit, but hardly any. So anyhow, bad strut. Ball joints at 15/16, just like those bolts that hold the caliper on. And I've got my wrench around here somewhere. There it is, behind me. I hit it while I was playing with that spring, so the spring shot out. It didn't take my wrench out. I don't care about my leg, but my wrench gets broken. All right. Here we go. Just like that. It ain't so dirty. Come out of there. There it is. Nut from the ball joint. And of course that's not going to just lift off of there. What we're going to have to do is get the pickle fork in behind there and separate it that way. And it's down here at this weird angle. And just lift it up, get at it. A lot of tension there. What I think I'll do, get me a little better angle while I whack on this pickle fork. I am going to still use the jack. I should have put that jack under there before I took the last threads off on that strut up there, but I didn't. So let's put the jack under it, get me a better angle to work with pickle fork. I could probably get at it from there, but I don't feel like doing it the hard way any more than is necessary. Stay down there. All right. Let's see here. All right, let's see if we can go up with it. Yeah, that's way better. Knock that sucker loose. Come on, man. Whew. Working up a sweat. There it goes. Voila. Off. In case you're wondering how bad I fuck it up when I let it fly, doesn't look like the bottom edge of the rotor took anything. The brake shield, dust shield got a little scratch. But you can see the bearing cap took a licking. I could probably beat that back out flat, but I'll just get a new one. Doesn't look like any of the lug studs got smashed. So all in all, my dumbass lucked out. So let's just put this down. All right. So, ooh, that's nasty. Dirty pickle fork. Let's go ahead and let that down off the jack. Now, in case you've been wondering, what the hell is he doing? Why? Why don't you get this control arm out? But I've got some donor control arms that I put new bushings in, and I can see the bushings on this one are dry rotted as hell. So anyhow, let's see if we can get this out. Ricky Tick. Noteworthy, the control arm bolts have 18mm head, 18mm nuts. So you're going to need two 18mm wrenches. You use the impact on one side and you use just a socket on the other to hold it. When you put the new spone bolts in, you got 3/4, I believe, on the bolt and 18mm on the nut. Why that is, I don't know, but it is. The bolts are oriented so that the bolt head is forward here and forward here. I'm not sure there's any magic relationship where those bolts have to be in. The shaft of the bolt is smooth under there. Only the tips of them are threaded. But anyhow, heads are forward on this one. I seem to remember on the other one, they had them coming in from opposite directions. Whatever, doesn't matter. Trivia. Let's see if we can get this sucker out. 18mm. 18mm socket. And we're having to bring the gun in from the front because we can't get it behind here. Another chainsaw going behind me here. It's like a chainsaw thing. Fuck. I think I'm going to use wobble up front here. The connecting arm is in the way. I wonder if I should just start the car up and cut the wheel to get that out of the way. That wouldn't be simpler. Let's do that rather than try to fight our way around it. Oh yeah, that's way better. Way better access. There's the main, I think, what do they call it? Piece, the relay rod. It was in the way of the bolt. Let's see what we got here now. See if we got access from the front. Well, looks like the pitman arm is still in the damn way. Let's start it up one more time, see if we can't cut it some more. Get that pitman arm out of the way. That way I can get the socket on here easier. That's cut as far as it's going to go. And I think that's going to be enough. short wobble socket on the front. See if that'll fit better. This gun's got to be able to get on it. I know. I'll use 2 wobble sockets. Put the other one. There it is. I don't like doing too many wobbles on here because that starts to get all this vibration in it when it operates. But these things aren't really on there that tight. Yeah, that's going to give me access. Now, let's make sure I can reach it with the socket from the other side. Part of the problem is these bolts are so dirty that the sockets don't want to go on real easily. Alright, that one's on. Where's the gun? Yeah. Alright. That's a crazy wobble that I don't like. Whew. Let's just use one. See if we can get on it that way. Problem is the pitman arm is still interfering. I could get a regular wrench on it real easy, but getting this gun in there takes a whole lot more clearance. Why are you not going? It's always something, right? There we go. This is a new gun, the hog ring is really tight, and I'm really weak. It's not reaching what to do. I don't like using big wobbly guys, but I think that's what I'm going to do here. He's just got more wobble in it. Hopefully it doesn't shake too bad. Come on. There it is. The nut that just came off. Literally smoking. That's how much friction there was. There's smoke coming off of it. Wow. There it is. There's the nut. bolt's still in place. But it looks like it's really loose now. So we're just going to leave that there. So this control arm doesn't come flopping down before we're ready. Now then, it's going to be easy to get a wrench on the bolt head over here. Getting something on right down in the back. Not much space there. I think what I'm going to try to do is come at this bolt with the impact. Let's try this big wobbly guy. See if we can get that in there. Goes in. Let's try the big wobbly and the light wobbly. Looks like I might be able to get the gun in from that angle. All right. Yep. It's gonna get access now. Let's get some access to the back. Let's see if this breaker bar with the deep well socket will work. I'm getting a low battery warning here on the phone, so it's 20% remaining. Low power mode or close. Hopefully you get this recording. I'm almost there. Deep well's not going to fit back there. What are my choices? 18mm wrench. I've got an 18mm wrench. Yes, I do. Alright, this is one of these ratchety things. I don't trust the ratchet on this impact, so I'm just going to have to use the old-fashioned spanner. Alright, this is going to be tricky. Let's see if I can get the gun on here, balance it, and then reach in with the spanner. There's that. All right. Well, I'm going to take my chances with that ratchet and see what happens. that off. All right. Rear bolt. Booyah! We didn't die. And it's out. I got everything ready to go to put it back together, sort of. But one of the things that I need to do is there's a boot that goes over that strut that I need to work on. That sucker, was it even on there? I think it was. It went flying under the car somewhere. I wanted to show you that. But that needs some rehabilitation before I can put it back together. So bottom line is not putting this thing back together today, but we got it apart. Hey, and that was the purpose of this video. How long did it go? About an hour, I think. So that's the way these things work. Took about an hour. Cheers.